Hey there, and welcome. Ever find yourself dreaming about French food and wishing you could, actually talk about it in French? Well, you're in the right place. In this quick explainer, we're going to take a little culinary journey together through some key French words and phrases. So let's dive right in. All right, let's kick things off with a little quiz, just for fun. You'll see a French expression on the screen. Casser la croûte. Let me say that one more time, nice and slow. Casser la croûte. Now, if you translate that word for word, it means to break the crust. So, what do you think it actually means when people say it? Any ideas?
And the answer is to eat a meal. If you guessed that, fantastic job. Yep, casser la croûte is just a really great casual way to say you're gonna grab a bite. It's one of those perfect little phrases that shows you just how creative and expressive French can be, especially when we're talking about food.
Okay, so now that we've had a little appetizer, let's take a look at what's on the menu for today. We're going to go through this step by step, so by the end, you'll feel way more confident talking about all things delicious in French.
So, here's the game plan. We'll start with a cool cultural tidbit, then we'll get into some super important grammar for describing food. After that, it's all about sharing your opinions, what you love, what you don't. And finally, we'll cover how to pick your absolute favorite. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, first up, a French bite to eat. We're going to start with the social side of things because you'll find that in France, a meal is rarely just about the food. It's really about sharing a moment together. And that brings us to this idea of a repas-partagé. You probably know this better as a potluck. It's exactly what it sounds like, a meal where every single person brings a dish to share. It's hugely popular because, let's be honest, it takes a ton of stress off the host. And it's just a brilliant way to taste all sorts of new dishes that your friends can cook. Okay, moving on to the main course of our lesson today, we're going to talk about how you actually describe what's on the menu. And the key here is something called partitive articles. Now, don't let the grammar terms scare you. These are just the little words you use to say some of something, like some cheese, not all the cheese in the world. Now, I know this table might look a little intimidating at first, but trust me, it's pretty straightforward. Here's how it works. For masculine words like fromage, you use du. For feminine words like sauce, it's de la. If a word starts with a vowel, think O for water, you use de le. It just helps it sound smoother. And for anything plural, like champignon, it's always de. Easy enough, right? Let's try it out with a real example. Okay, let's picture a pizza. What's in it? Well, it has de la pâte à pizza, that's pizza dough, and de la sauce tomate, because those are both feminine. Then you've got du pepperoni, du poivron, that's bell pepper, and of course, du fromage, cheese. Those are all masculine. And to top it off, des champignons, some mushrooms, which is plural. See what we did there? It's like you're building the pizza ingredient by ingredient with your words. Pretty cool. Let's do one more, just to make sure it sticks. How about a noodle soup? So first, you'd need du bouillon de poulet. That's chicken broth, which is masculine. Next, you'd add de la sauce soja, soy sauce, which is feminine. And finally, you throw in des nouilles, noodles, and that's plural. See? You're already sounding like a French chef. All right, so now we know how to say what's in the food. But what about whether you actually like it or not? Let's move on to how you can express your own personal taste. This is the fun part where you get to share what you really think. So here are some really useful expressions. For something you like, a simple j'aime works perfectly. If you really like it, you can say j'aime beaucoup, I like it a lot. And if you absolutely love it, you say j'adore. Now for the other side. Je n'aime pas is I don't like. To really emphasize it, you can say je n'aime pas du tout, I don't like it at all. And for those things you truly can't stand, je déteste, I hate. It's direct and gets the point across. So for instance, if you're a huge fan of dark chocolate, you could just say j'adore le chocolat noir. Simple, to the point, and everyone knows exactly how you feel. Or maybe you're not a tea drinker. In that case, you can just say je n'aime pas le thé. It's polite and perfectly clear. Okay, but what if you like two things, but you like one of them just a little bit more? How do you say that? Well, for that, we need a brand new verb. Let's look at how to talk about what you prefer. And that verb is préférer, which means to prefer. Now, the really great thing here is that the pronunciation for I prefer, je préfère, and he or she prefers, il or elle préfère, is exactly the same. So even though the spelling is a tiny bit different, you don't have to worry about how you say it. Here's a perfect example of how you'd use it. You could say, J'aime l'hiver, mais je préfère l'été. It means, I like winter, but I prefer summer. That little structure, I like this, but I prefer that, is super useful for having more detailed conversations. So what if you want to ask someone else about their favorite? Well, you have to pay attention to whether the thing you're asking about is masculine or feminine. You'd ask, Quel est votre dessert préféré? For a masculine noun like dessert. But for a feminine noun like boisson, which means drink, you'd ask, Quelle est votre boisson préférée? The pronunciation is the same, but that little spelling difference is key when you're writing. And there we have it. We've made it to the end of our little culinary tour. I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time, so let's just quickly go over everything we learned today. Just think about everything you can do now. You know, a fun, everyday expression for eating. You understand the idea of a potluck, French style. You've got the hang of those crucial little words for describing ingredients, and you can share what you love, what you hate, and what you prefer. That is an absolutely fantastic toolkit to start with. So, to wrap things up, I'm going to turn it over to you with one last question. I want you to think about how you'd answer this. Et vous, quelle est votre boisson préférée? So, what is your favorite drink? Give it some thought, and maybe even try to say your answer out loud. Thanks so much for joining me on this tasty little journey.